Okay, everyone, welcome. Today again, we will deal with the idea of saturation. So you took your grids, you took your collage, and now we're going to make a painting kind of using those same ideas. So again, one way to do it if we were doing blue, and you're probably all sick of seeing this thing, but you can make your own very easy and even better probably. This is something I did in class, just to show people live. But basically, if blue is my root color, my family, I'm using white, black, gray we did. Some of you in your collages probably broke into these complementary ideas of what the color does too. So you then get your nice rich violet, because blue, blue, violet, then blue, green, right? And then orange makes it give these muddy colors. So for today, I'll be painting this. Hopefully, I think you can see that. Let me see. Well, I can't see because my holder is. But anyway, fruit, set up pretty intense in color. So I would first go through and make a pencil sketch. And again, just a quick reminder, I'm doing measuring. I'm kind of thinking about how high these things are, how they line up this way. And I'm just kind of doing a simple block-in idea of what each, like my lemon has that top nipple there, and it goes like this. I mean, it is spherical, but it gets a little wider here. And again, if you kind of quickly use straight lines, even like as I was doing the bell pepper, I was kind of just chipping in straight lines first to get the main shape. Then you come back, and I would always kind of indicate some shadows, like if that's going to be a shadow, it breaks here, and inside here I have reflective light. But anyway, that's the main shadow. I would then, I've just gone ahead and taken the magenta, mixed it with a little blue to get my darker blue shadows, which are going to be in here. I have a crimson there. My yellow and red, yellow mixed with orange, or the red will give you an orange. But I've also taken, sorry, let me do this real quick, a pile of gray and put it over here. Remember, we did our gray study. Now that I'm in a full palette, I would keep a little lump of gray over here that I can keep adding in colors. I've also taken the complements of yellow and purple or violet to get this kind of nice neutral that's going to come into my paintings. And then I'm using like a pie tin. Over here, I have a little scraping area. I'm doing that. So again, to begin, I would just simply think a lot of my painting is going to be in sort of a magenta family. So I lose nothing to kind of come through and stain already. And you can think of zoning. Like I'm going to take this whole zone of idea of color down here in violets and reds. And even though my lemon is overlapping it. So see, now I'm kind of just quickly mapping that in. I can see my pencil line. A lot of you probably cannot, but so again, with gouache or with, I'm using acrylic just like you are, but even with acrylic, if you start first with a loose, like a watercolor kind of wash, you can always build thicker. But, it's a quick way to kind of get your understanding of your composition set up, because then now I'm noticing that fabric goes back in there all the way over to here. I mean, it happened to be this particular photo that I chose, but it does come all the way, making a distinctive shape between here. Now it gets darker back here, but that's okay. If you're going to get darker anyway, what's the harm in kind of putting down the middle color, or, the color that's going to be the mid-tone. So that's a pretty good start there. Again, I would, if you can reserve a brush for your lighter colors. Now, we are splitting complements in this one. So again, as I go in and start thinking how this is going to be that shape starting, the yellow, and as I'm doing it, I'm kind of washy, so I'm keeping, but that's what I did right there. That's the beauty of paint. It just let the red violet rub into it and give me, so real quick, see, even like there's a yellow bell pepper back there. Since my brush has got warm yellow on it, I'll move to an orange and start thinking of other things. Like this bell pepper is going to be that shape starting. So again, I'm just going shape against shape. And probably the real part of saturation will come in when I start mixing shadow colors within. Like this bell pepper is going to have some cooler shadows there in a minute. There's actually a really bright red behind there. And now look what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that red and lean over to the cool family and get myself a little bit of a mid-dark. And then that can be, that's pretty good. I can even go darker. So again, now this violet has blue in it. So that blue is mixing with the warm properties and making actually a dull tone, which is making it a little duller red. And a little darker, of course. But there's a bell pepper back there that's redder. I'm just going to put that in. But then while I have that, I'm just kind of jumping around because you guys are watching me, of course. But what's wrong with this starts becoming, some elements of that redder tone are going to be back there. Okay. I'm going to do something really bold now, which is in my drawing, this is dark, this is dark, this is dark. It's all background. I'm going to actually take that magenta and mix it with black. Did he say black? Yes, he said black. Why? Because I want a really dark, and there's an eggplant in my picture too that's going to be dark. I hope you guys can see this. Anyway, we'll see. Let me move this up. Maybe it'll help. So I'm going to take that black, which has got actually magenta in it, so it's a little purpley, and give myself the background where I'm going to cut out, sort of separate the front from the back. Here's actually the tip of the eggplant. It comes here. See, now that plays nice with my, I could even go over that green stem. I have a green stem there. Okay, so that's taking care of that and pushing that stuff further back, allowing me then to have all these things up here. But along with that, there's going to be other colors, of course. But so then now I just kind of come back in and think about my greens. Again, I'm purposely putting down the greens now, but they're going to have purple shadows in them. So if you, I know you're saying now you're picking a compliment, though. How can that be? I would just paint what you see, and then when you go to your shadows and such, think about the shadow colors within them. Because again, this whole shape of that apple can be green as well. Okay, then I got to make a decision. I have these interesting scenario because the radishes, they're back here, are actually quite hot. So they're kind of glowing too. So you can see that. Hopefully you can see that's a little bit of a pinkish hue to that. But next to it, again, like I said before, I have a really black eggplant back there. So I'm going to take, again, more leaning on this crimson side and blue, phthalo blue. Look at that beautiful purple. So for a shadow substitute, this is going to have more. See that? Now that reads like a deep, deep purple for my eggplant shape. I'll show you all in the computer screen in just a minute. But see, now that blue is playing into that red family I started with, the red violets. And that blue is a pure blue. This is how the Fauves did it. They just substituted now for light and dark, a warm and cool. And then taking that little bit of there. Actually, while I have my green brush, the top of that eggplant is something like that. And then if I want a little darker green, which I need for these green bell peppers back here, and actually that stalk, see that stalk, that one of them goes over the top. You can just cut back over, because I did a background. Now I can just kind of come back and say, there's that there, and then taking a little more blue. So same thing, I'm taking the family of green to make it darker. I'm mixing blue to that, you see, and it gives me now the shadow color of the front of my bell pepper. And I'm just kind of drawing with shapes to give those little ridges of bell peppers. I'm not outlining. It's a very liberating process, I think, to just kind of brush with shape and color. And again, I'm going to come over here now and say, hey, this apple wants a shadow to go here. How do I do that? Well, you knock that sucker in, brush off a little bit, add more yellow instead of white. I'm going to go to the white eventually, but the yellow now kind of helps build the warm, cool thing. Okay, all along I've been waiting for the bottom part down here to dry, because now I want to come in and get a little more unified. So I'll take same kind of deep purple I had for that eggplant, but it's actually blue, or now that I'm looking at it, it's kind of a dirty blue violet. And use this now for my shadow. See, so this whole shadow in here, that's a little blue. Let's back off a little, go back to the magenta. That's better. But this whole thing is, these shapes or shadows are this blue, blue, blue. See, now it's starting to cook. But back here, it's actually a redder. So I'm actually taking red into that color. And the further back there's a little bit redder shadow. While I'm at it, I'm kind of picking up any shadows I see back there and putting those in. And then, I'm going to go ahead and it's kind of not, and now I went back to my black, but now with my black, really go back there behind those negative spaces and pick up, because anything you paint further back dark is going to start. See, so I've been painting about 5 or 10 minutes here, right? And I have the main things started. This is the way to go. And you can always kind of layer. See, now this eggplant's primed. It looks purple. I hope that looks that way. Let me just talk real quickly. Those of you that, here's an interesting idea for drawing. If you get to this point and you're lost and like, oh man, what do I do? Again, taking a smaller brush. Taking a smaller brush, you can draw with line. Let's say this bell pepper. I wouldn't take a black. Go to the darkest color you think is going to be in it, and give yourself the guides to where those are going to be. Folding. Again, come back and kind of redraw those areas you might need to come back, and you can always come back and blend and do this. But see, if you want to restructure that thing, just come back and draw. Eventually, this is the most orange thing I have, but that bell pepper back here needs some clarity. And then again, you just kind of keep working on it and building tones. When you start adding white, so I haven't yet, but let's get to that green apple, see what happens. See, when you add white to that and the yellow green, you now have a new value system coming in. So the light that's hitting here, again, if you want to be Manet, you can do it in one stroke. And again, a lot of painters kind of did, like, again, this is all, see, that's the light side. So, but again, yellow, green, that's a family of yellow, or green on the light side. I'm mixing yellow to it. If I want on the cool side, take blue to it. Voila, there you go. Now I have a pretty interesting shadow there for the bottom side of this. Let that chill for a minute. And what I mean by that, it kind of absorbs and starts drying right then. I could come back. Now here's the thing, wet into wet. While things are wet, it's easier to come in and kind of blend, bring those strokes, and kind of now I've defined a little bit more of that shadow. See, so now I have a purple in a yellow-green thing going on here, and it's just starting to get pretty fun for me. Behind here is yellow, darker. But while I have it, I might test it over here. It's not nearly as purple on this side. It's actually very blue in the shadow I'm seeing. So I'm just kind of mixing the green with the blue now to give me a darker side. But guess what? All reflective light comes in. And what do I have? I have purple from this bright fabric, pink fabric, purple fabric, coming through. So right into that sucker. Just going to take that wet paint and go, here's my reflective lights inside there. And then just come back and kind of blend it out like this, and leave it loose. Now that I have this dirty color on my brush, it works really well for the shape of the lemon. See that? That's kind of a weird purple, blue-green, but that's a nice shadow color for my lemon. Yeah. Okay, and then watch this. Watch this. Like I'm some kind of superstar. Shit, I'm just a teacher. The yellow-green sets up pretty nice, and now I can come back in, and I'm kind of a knucklehead. I'm just going to keep using the same brush. I would say you don't have to. But see, going inside there, I would first, let me get the yellow, because it's about here where it gets really bright. I haven't, I don't know if you noticed, but I haven't really added white. White is good for your final touches, but and that's good for now because there's my value, and that's going there and going here. I mean, if you do want to get some of the texture of that lemon and you feel like puckering, the brush, Van Gogh would do that. Some of you in class would do that. Okay, now again, here's that bridge. There's your midtone. This is the thing a lot of us work in class, and I'm trying to say, hey, think of that midtone. It is darkest dark here, and again, I'm taking a purple and yellow mixture, kind of weird, neutral, green, yellow for that. But it's also picking up oranges and reflective lights underneath, so I would come back and add into there while it's wet and start blending them together. And in a minute here, I'm going to pop up that tabletop. But this is the kind of painting you have to do, is just kind of brush it on, take it off. Now, some of you might say, that's where the color gets real muddy. What do I do for that? you know, this is the learning curve. You got to decide. There we go. Now it's starting to work. You know, decide how much paint you're putting on, when you're taking your time. I would, and I'll stop soon, folks. I know you girl. Whew, anxious to paint. And again, I've run out of spots, so I'm going to take this white and try to make the best of it and come over here to my magenta. I got too much. That's okay. Because what I'm really trying to get is this kind of lavender color I started with. So I'm really just taking the magenta and adding blue to it to give me this. And so now that can be my lightest light. It's probably purpler than I want. I'm going to come back maybe with my second coat and really hit the pink, magenta. There we go. Something like that. So if you want those faded tones, I mean, the bigger brushes always give you a nicer, clean, unified, big parts coming together, right? And look how long, bigger brushes get it done quicker too, of course. I mean, this is a little sloppy, but now I'm starting to make sense, right? No, you're not. Okay. Like even here, and a little bit of light coming in through there is what's creating that. Okay. Now we're cooking. And then I would still come back and probably that eggplant is killer dark. So now I'm going to come back and really enjoy looking into purple. It'll become saturated if, yeah, that's looking nice. It looks like you're putting down these dark colors and complementary colors, and then certain colors start glowing. That's what you really want. Again, you want that internal glow, that color light issue. You could take it all red and make the whole painting red if you wanted and just move in big zones. It's up to you. And again, I'm just trying to get you to mix colors you probably wouldn't normally mix. Mix the neutrals, mix the brighter colors, because that eggplant really only has that dark and just a smidgen. It's kind of yellowish, even of yellow light over there. So yeah, that starts working. Okay, hopefully that makes pretty good sense. And actually, because I have all the paint out and I'm gonna have to use it, I would take that, and you know, some of you could start feeling Van Gogh-esque and palette knifing. If you always want pure color, your knife is a good way to kind of get that on there too. Plus it makes it's a little harder to control, but it makes it very pure, rich color, because even moving from there to get my shadow here, I might see what I did there and mix the blue with the red. So in terms of saturation, why is this working? It's in the red, I'm going from warm red, you know, that orange red, to the kind of purple. So again, I'm mixing warm and cool colors within a color. Okay, so have fun with it. Paint what you see, and let's see what happens with your paintings.